I would like to open the Planning and Development Committee meeting for July 20th of 2026. May I please have a roll call?
Counselor Lautensack?
Here.
Counselor Thompson?
Here.
Counselor Fitzgibbons?
Here.
At this time, I would like to ask for motion to approve the minutes from April 6th of 2026. Counselor Fitzgibbons, Counselor Thompson.
Counselor Lautensack?
Yes.
Counselor Thompson?
Yes.
Counselor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
I see no old business to attend to. New business, authorizations. Mayor Robert A. Cordino requests authorization for public hearing regarding the proposed local law number 2 of the year 2026, a local law authorizing property tax levy in excess of the limit established in general municipal law.
Good afternoon, councilors. I'm not sure if you really need me to say much because in your packet, I mean, you had a pretty good explanation of it. I will tell you, this is my 11th budget that I've worked on. And for example, last year, and we've done this every year, it's sort of like insurance, right? Last year, we didn't need to worry about it because I was able to craft a 0 tax increase last year. We haven't finalized this year's budget, so having this in place kind of covers us in case we do go over the 2%. So pretty self-explanatory.
Any questions from the council?
I think if my understanding is correct, that authorizes us within 2 to 5%, with 5% being a cap. Correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yes, I know Councilor or City Attorney and you talked earlier today. I assume he mentioned a few things to you.
I did.
Okay.
May I have a motion?
Yep.
Counselor Fitzgibbons, Counselor Thompson.
Counselor Lautensack?
Yes.
Counselor Thompson?
Yes.
Counselor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
Does anyone have any other business to attend to at this time? I would like to have a motion to close the Planning and Development Committee meeting. Counselor Thompson, Counselor Fitzgibbons.
Counselor Lautensack?
Yes.
Counselor Thompson?
Yes.
Counselor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to call Physical Services Committee meeting to order on Monday, July 20th. Could I have a roll call, please?
Counselor Meyer?
Here.
Counselor Plunkett?
Here.
Counselor Ashline?
Here.
Counselor Kennedy?
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 6, 2026 committee meeting, please? Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Ashline.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Ashline?
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy?
Yes.
I see no old business. Under new business authorization, item 1, the Office of Economic Development received a request for use of public space from Colin Seeley of the Oswego County Oasis to host the Community Health Outreach Fair on August 26, 2026 from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. I tried to reach out to this gentleman. I didn't get a call back. I'm really not sure about it. He wants a fee waiver of $400 for trash removal. So I really don't know exactly what this fair entails. It's down at Brightbeck. Councilor Plunkett.
I think we should table this until we can get a hold of this gentleman, or he calls you back, whichever comes first.
I agree, to find out exactly what's going on. Yes. So with that being said, no one here to talk about it. May I please have a motion to table? Councilor Plunkett. Councilor Kennedy. Roll call, please.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Ashline?
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy?
Yes.
Item 2, discussion and determination by the Common Council of the 988 sign placement locations. Is there anyone here? I guess we can, anyone comments? Any? Councilor Kennedy.
So I have a constituent that reached out to me that with her job and everything wished to remain anonymous, but I want to read a statement from her if everybody doesn't mind. She starts off with, "Please tell me my life matters. Please tell me and so many others like myself that we matter. Please tell me that your city is invested in helping those of us who may suffer from from those demons who we have no control over. Please tell me why we need to argue over 10 signs being placed in a city that gets tens of thousands of visitors a year. Please tell me how sharing a resource for so many like myself is wrong. Why we are debating the signs that were donated. Why the hesitation to do the right thing, ? To send that message that your city cares about people like myself who less than 1 month ago thought about ending my life in your beautiful lake. As I think about that day overlooking the water, I found myself steps from taking my life. For some reason, fate happened and I received a text from which resulted in mobile crisis being called on me. They saved me that day. As I sat there that day, had there been a 988 sign in front of me, I probably would have texted them. I probably would have taken the time to ask for help. I probably would have been okay with that number being placed in front of me. The location that I was sitting is a popular spot. Chances are I am not the first, nor will I be the last thinking about ending my life in that place in your beautiful city. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. What a message it would send to see you as a city make the placement of these signs happen at that time. Say it out loud. Suicide happens. Say it again. You never know what anyone has on their back or in their head. I ask that you do the right thing. Take these beautiful signs and let those that may need them the most know that the city of Oswego cares. I also want to add to that a year ago, I think it was in August if I'm not mistaken, the city of Fulton, just to the south of us, had placed these exact same signs on their bridges with, as far as I'm aware, and I could be mistaken, with little to no hesitation to do so. They worked with the same coalition that donated these signs gracefully to us, that otherwise we would have had to pay money to make these signs. So I'm glad this initiative is moving forward with as much support from department heads as we've received, and I just want to get these signs up and help with this resource that's such a valuable asset to our city. Thank you.
Have any more comments from any other councilors? Councilor Thompson? Yeah, well, I was going to get to your mother, but I thought you raised your hand first.
I'll send my comment.
Okay. Come on up, Mrs. Thompson. Come on up.
Members of the council, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, as long as you stand close to the mic, we're good.
Okay. Okay, before I begin, I'm going to make something perfectly clear. These are my opinions and mine alone. I do not discuss city business with my son because I firmly believe that family and politics remain separate. I grew up in a political family, a newspaper family, and that was our golden rule, and we stick to it. And as Councilor Plunkett knows, we have somebody in our house who wouldn't allow politics to be discussed anyway. So I want to address something that has been said about me. And I do not appreciate anyone twisting my words or claiming that I am vehemently opposed to the 988 signs or to suicide prevention, because nothing could be further from the truth. Many years ago, I lost a beloved family member to suicide in the Oswego River. So this isn't political to me, it's personal. This happened 50 years ago, and it still impacts me. It was somebody who I thought of as a older brother, a big brother. It was somebody who taught me how to play chess and checkers and let me win at everything, who went to Vietnam, came back deaf and paralyzed from the waist down and in a wheelchair. He drove his wheelchair into the river to take his life because he could not get the services he needed because he was deaf. And 50 years ago, that was almost impossible if you were deaf. And this is why I became a sign language interpreter. I support any effort that has the potential to save a life. If these signs help one person in crisis, they have an immeasurable value. However, I feel strongly that these signs should not be installed without meaningful public input and a public education campaign. People deserve to know what the signs mean, why they are being installed, where they are being placed, and all the resources that are actually available. And I know you can't answer because this is a public session, but I know two counselors didn't know. Before these signs were donated, how many of you had ever heard of 988? I spoke to two counselors who I know haven't. So if even one of you elected officials are unfamiliar with it, how can we expect the average resident to understand what it is or how it differs from 911, 211, the Ocio Crisis Hotline, Liberty Resources, and other mental health services? All I'm asking is educate the public before you install the signs. One of my graduate studies focused on crisis communication. I am trained in this. And I was trained in it 50 years ago as well. I actually worked a suicide hotline when I was in college in Ohio. One thing I learned is that effective suicide prevention is not just about putting up signs. It involves education, outreach, collaboration, and planning. Signs can be one tool, but they should never be the entire strategy. Everything needs to work together to come together. I also believe that placement decisions should be made with the guidance of the professionals like the police chief, the fire chief, the DPW commissioner, mental health professionals, and at least one member of the Suicide Coalition. They are the professionals, and they have the expertise to determine where these signs are most likely to help while minimizing unintended consequences. We have to consider the fact, if there's a sign placed where my cousin took his life, I could never go there again. Do I like the signs? No, I think they're morbid. They're black. Black represents fear, anxiety, and darkness. And I went to Fulton today, and I couldn't find one single 998 sign. Not on Broadway Bridge, not on the Oneida Street Bridge. I went to the lake I can't pronounce or spell, and I didn't see one single sign. But I have seen them in other cities, and I know they have some white ones that, are very visible. And I think one of the things you have to consider when you install these is where are they going to show at night? Because we don't exactly have the best lighting. And but that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it, I would think. So, over the past 6.5 months, this council has spent an extraordinary amount of time discussing signs while other public safety issues continue to wait. And I'm going to give you an example. The city skate park, it's not open at night, but it is in desperate need of lighting. It sits next to the wastewater pump station and near a homeless encampment. After dark, there's barely any lighting. It's very dark. I checked that out. When a friend of mine brought it to my attention, I checked it out. And if you walk over the bridge, you can look down and you can see how dark it is. But the teenagers hang there at night, and they fight. And someone was held at knife point and robbed down there. So it's a place where teenagers gather. There is a homeless encampment down there. I believe it's still there. And I think that it might be, though, a good place to place a sign because you've got teenagers and a vulnerable population down there, and it's secluded. So that's all I wanted to say about that. I also want to say something about public service. Reasonable people should be able to disagree without having their motives questioned. Asking questions is not opposition. Offering another perspective is not hostility. It's part of representative government. Unfortunately, I have witnessed criticism dismissed instead of considered. I am also concerned when elected officials use official social media pages to block constituents simply because they disagree with them. The United States Supreme Court has made it clear that when public officials use social media to conduct official business, which means posting agendas and discussing city matters, that their actions are subject to the First Amendment. And every member of this council swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York. And this oath includes respecting the rights of citizens to express differing opinions. At the end of the day, I believe every person in this room and in this city wants the same outcome: fewer suicides and more lives saved. And remember that listening to the people is one of the responsibilities that comes with public office. But if the goal is to truly save lives, then you owe this community more than signs. It takes thoughtful planning, public education, transparency, and a willingness to listen. And as public officials, we expect you not to violate the First Amendment, of which I'm pretty expert at, being in the press for 30 years. That used to be where the committee sat, not in there, out there with the public, and usually a pretty crowded public. And they would be called up one at a time. And being there is where you should be, out here with the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments from Councilor Fitzgibbon?
I do want to acknowledge the loss of
Wait a second, John, hold on. Is there someone else that wanted to speak? Yeah, sure, come on up. I wasn't sure what the... No, you're fine. We'll get to you in just a second, John, okay?
I just simply want to introduce myself. My name is Karen Burke. I'm a member of the Suicide Coalition, Suicide Prevention Coalition. I think that obviously there's been very, open and good discussion and points well made. A couple of things that maybe I can help clear up. The design of the sign being black, there was never any intention for it to be dark or morbid. I think the idea was to make the letters, the white letters, and the suicide prevention colors, which are purple and aqua, to stand out more readily. And the intention of the sign is stated on there. It says Suicide and Crisis Hotline Number. And the coalition is very active in our county. We're tabling at all kinds of events where our purpose is educating. So we're here for people. We take every opportunity we can. In fact, we did a whole theme this year focusing on kindness, planting the seeds of kindness. Maybe you've seen things in the local library. The mayor welcomed us to do some things at Brightbeck Park. So we are around, and we are certainly happy to help in any way that we can. Signs are never intended to be the be-all, the one and be-all. Anything that we can do to help someone in a moment of crisis is what we're about. Interestingly enough, suicide is one of the most preventable deaths. There is research that proves that. And someone taking a few minutes to call a crisis hotline number may in fact be the thing that saves their lives, because someone is there to listen, non-judgmental, to talk and give that person. And sometimes it just takes a phone call or two to get that person back on the right path. Is that always successful? No. Sometimes people, take their own lives regardless of the circumstances. It's a very deep and complex issue, but one of the things that we hope in the coalition is to help to make people aware that taking care of your mental health is as important as taking care of your physical health. So inviting or asking, actually we didn't approach the council for the signs. There's a person that approached us and asked about it, I believe. And I'm sorry, I don't know the person's name, but there's someone maybe from the police department that's part of the...
Gina Vaughn.
Okay, yes. And the two signs that are in Fulton are on the lower bridge. I think that the upper bridge is maybe state property, so the city wasn't allowed to put them there. The fact that I believe that there's only two, that's where they are. There are 5 in Fulton, and I'm just not aware of all of the locations. So the opportunity to do it here was very exciting and welcoming to us, and we'd be happy to provide any kind of input that you'd like. Again, the purpose of the coalition is to educate people to hopefully, deter and stop and, yes, sir.
How long has 988 been in use?
It's been a couple of years. They made a national change. Exactly when it changed, I can't tell you off the top of my head. 2023? Thank you.
When someone calls 988, is that like a statewide call center type operation?
I believe it's a national.
Or is that countywide, or?
No, I believe it's a national. We do have county resources that people can call as well, but you can text it, you can call it, the phone, and what we'll do is we'll connect you with someone that is trained and is willing to listen and gives you an opportunity.
Councilor Fitzgibbon.
In 2022, the federal government funded 988. And since 2022, they've put $500 million into the 988 system. The 2026 budget for the state of New York contains $62 million for that. The FCC has given it unique geo-routing capacity, so much like 911, they can tell the location, not by area code of the dialer, but where the call originates from. And because it does not engage automatically law enforcement, it's not geo-located like law enforcement is in 911. That's geo-located. They can tell to the specific address. Only in 988, they can tell by its general location where it is by a routing, so that they connect with the right resources. It's a nationally supported network of phone service that's ultimately deployed and served locally. So if the capacity is local for its service, that service is rendered locally. But if it's not, either by absence or overflow, there's a national staffing of that. So the resource is it's a 4-year phenomenon, but it's a significant change in the delivery of this service. And so there was speaker before spoke of the lack of public education, which I couldn't agree more, because I did reach out to the school district, and because this should be a conversation for educators. And if you go to the New York State Office of Mental Health, there is a 40-page document on how this should be put out through schools, congregations, and communities.
Yeah.
And so we're the tail of a big dog, and really, I did find the four signs on one bridge and one on the other, and I spoke to their DPW and the person in charge of their signs to see if they had one more that we could use as an example for tonight. All of theirs are up right now that they had.
Yeah, this is what this sign.
Less than black. It's less than black. It's more of a bluish tint when you see it live. And I think I took this. It's posted on 4 of the bridges, corners of the bridges, and then at one of the corner on the 48 side of the upper bridge, Route 3 bridge. And as I think it's because of the state access of the other corners of that bridge. So they actually have 5 at that corner. I do think that this has been a valuable opportunity to point out that what we need is a comprehensive conversation about, and I think the topic is that you hear as your advocacy for suicide prevention. But 988 is mental health and substance abuse. It's much bigger and deeper than that. And really, as we look at our own police station and we look at our police department and what's happened in the deployment of services and how that over the last 5 years or 4 years, it's been more critical for us to have mental health and substance integration and more than just diversion. It becomes how we can more properly serve the residents of our community. And this is just one element of it. This is a piece. This is transactional. This isn't the answer. This is something that we could talk about the actual side, but actually it's a much broader conversation. So we don't want, from my own point of view, I think the signs belong in our community in some shape and form. These are the signs, and the reason these were selected is because this is the Office of Mental Health format. This is the New York State Office of Mental Health, and they've published a 38-page guide of message communication and awareness, and this flows through that format. So we're Me Tooing what every other community and mental health professional has done. The other thing I'd say is that with regard to this topic, there is actually the NAMI, which is the National Association of Mental Health, help me on this.
I'm not exactly
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
The acronyms
They're
get me.
the professionals in the mental health world that deal
Yes.
with this. And they have a very interesting public forum that is their 4-year awareness of the 911 phenomena, because it is clearly a bifurcation. Something different happened 4 years ago. This isn't just an evolution of another sort of 211 thing. This is a nationally funded phenomena that clearly is about public health. It is in the vein of 911. 911 gets police involved. And many times mental health services aren't best delivered through police involvement. And that's why it's different. And there is a decision that happens. If it's an emergency that requires police, that's 911. If it's mental health and mental health services, 988 will be. We need to be part of the conversation that builds that awareness. And if the sign is a piece of that. And how we create a model community to allow for these resources to be more broadly available is important on us and important on your organization to help us.
Yes.
And other mental health professionals to help us. And so I think this is a piece of the puzzle. I would not want us to get bogged down on too much on this, because I think it is important that we move forward with it and come to some agreement to move forward. And there's a lot of research, and there's a lot of there's a lot of very smart people that have made this a commitment. $500 million of our federal budget in the last 4 years, $662 million of our state budget. This is where it's going, and I think this is important for us to support it.
Thank you for helping with that. I didn't come prepared because I only found about this meeting just a short time ago. I just want to add one last thing, that through the Oswego County Suicide Prevention Coalition, we are happy to make arrangements for training for any group that would like to do it. And we know that our first responders deal with some really difficult things, and we've, tried to reach out. We would, any of the council members that would like to attend a training, if you were to contact us, we can make arrangements for that. And there's different levels of that too. And some of it is just sort of busting the myths about suicide and educating and giving some very clear, easy steps for how to help somebody. So I think the councilman is saying is really important. It's a first step. It's a place to open a conversation in this community. So.
Well, that kind of led into my comment. Since none of us are mental health professionals, or I don't think we are, the placement of the signs, if we had one or two counselors or two counselors maybe that would meet with your coalition to actually determine the best place for these signs to be put up where they would give the most benefit for the community. We're talking about bridges, or we're talking about X location, wherever. I think that might be a good way to start this, is to find out where the signs would heed the most benefit for the community based on professional opinion. I don't know if the counselors agree with that, but I mean, that's just my opinion. just to try to get something rolling where we're not just gonna put these signs up to put them up. We're gonna put them up to actually be a benefit in the location that we use. I think that's a, yes, Counselor Lautensack. I'm sorry.
I think the other person to bring in would be Miss Officer Gina in the back there. About locations especially, since she's the one
Well,
on the field.
I was gonna say, the email that she sent back on July 2nd was a list of 10 spots that that Gina had said would be a good spot. And so if that's changed since July 2nd, I would like to know, but you did send a list of 10, and I appreciate that, Gina.
Yeah, of course. So I will say, I would have snagged a babysitter if I knew I was going to be chatting today, so hopefully I can get through this without her piping in. I really appreciate the different perspectives and conversations that are happening about this because it means we're talking about it. So in terms of the locations, I didn't just kind of like spin a wheel and pick them. Some of those locations were locations that I have been to, and we're speaking to like Gina today as a community member, not Gina like in her role at the police department. However, I've done crisis work for the past 5.5, 6 years, and so I have been to many of these locations while working in my role as mobile crisis and even as a clinic therapist. These are locations that individuals have told me about, places they've gone to. However, some of them are, I spoke with Sergeant Lemus over at the police department, and some of these like East Lanier and West Lanier were locations that we just kind of had conversations about. And I think West Lanier specifically, we kind of went back and forth on maybe having it near like the Veterans Memorial area, and should we bring people in who sort of represent that area to have that discussion, because it would be helpful. It could be helpful, right, to have in that area specifically. And I will say too, about 988 in particular, you guys had discussed like, what do we use, like mobile crisis and the county resources and 988 or 911. The cool thing about 988 is that in my time working in mobile crisis, 988 is only over the phone. However, if someone calls 988 and they actually would benefit and want an in-person response, 988 works directly with Contact, which is who we go through for mobile crisis to utilize that resource in our community. And so oftentimes, even if someone is calling 988, they may be connected directly to your mobile crisis therapist who's responding out to see you if that in-person support was needed. So those two resources are communicating, and it's not just in our county, it's all of the surrounding counties to my knowledge. And I just know this specifically from work with Liberty Resources Mobile Crisis. So the services aren't necessarily overlapping, they're actually working together. So anyways, that was a tangent on locations.
Counselor Thompson.
Counselor Calhoun mentioned 10 locations, and I tried looking up that email, but I didn't see it. Could you read those locations into your record?
Yeah, so the locations that Gina sent were the west side of Utica Street Bridge, the east side of Utica Street Bridge, the west side of Bridge Street Bridge, the east side of Bridge Street Bridge, East Lanier Park, West Lanier Park near Veteran Stage, Lakeside Park, which is East 10th and Half Street, Liberty Loop, which is Brightback Park, Sheldon Beach Park, and the last one is a little maybe controversial, Fort Ontario Scenic Overlook. The email conversation had a little bit of insight from Chief Cady, because that's a state or a federally recognized historic site, which I don't think we can do that.
Yeah.
So the alternative that we had discussed was the rail bridge, the pedestrian bridge.
Oh, the pedestrian bridge.
So
Yeah.
that was the
I
plan.
wondered, when I did that one, that is a location that I had frequented in work I was doing and some of my clients, and I put it in there, but I kind of had an assumption that that might be the case.
Counselor Thompson.
Okay, so the two bridges are listed on there. Aren't those state properties, so wouldn't we be restricted on that? Possibly.
The Utica Street Bridge is not. Utica Street Bridge is city property, but the Bridge Street Bridge would be 104.
They wouldn't necessarily, excuse me, they wouldn't have to be on the bridge. They could be within proximity of the bridge. There's- I think we have land or poles leading up to it with signs. That, I think that would be my thought.
Sure.
The authority to use those locations. I wouldn't specifically use the bridge. I'd use the proximity of the bridge. If you look at the both Fulton bridges, they have the one on Route 3, which is not on the bridge necessarily. None of them are actually on the bridge, but they're on the pole adjacent to the bridge. They're mainly in the pedestrian walkways, visible for pedestrians. That's where they're best used.
Okay,
Can I
thanks.
just add a thought, that some people feel that talking about suicide puts the idea of suicide into people's heads, and that is totally, completely incorrect. That having a sign that says suicide might, or asking someone, that's one of the first things we're trained to do, that are you thinking about hurting yourself? Are you thinking about taking your life? So the fact that it says that, and we're putting it in proximity to areas where people might in fact act upon it, those two things shouldn't necessarily influence each other. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Is that by talking about suicide doesn't mean that you are opening a door that wouldn't otherwise be open in that person's, in mindset, so, okay.
Counselor Thompson.
I think talking about it is fine, but having it out on a sign might be a little different from talking about it. But I do want to go back to locations, because I think that's one of the key things about tonight. So one thing I'm sort of surprised about is why we're not choosing the hospital as a location, the police department as another location, because those are places where people try to get help, but sometimes they get turned away. Having a sign right there would probably be a good location. As well as, I think it was like a month or two ago, we had someone during public session recommend out by Walmart. There's a lot of folks out there, homelessness, that are camped out by there. That might be a good location, another resource for them to reach out to. And then, I'm not sure if this would make sense, maybe it doesn't, maybe near mental health as another location. I do agree that Fort Ontario is probably not the best location for a sign. I do agree with that, but just a few other locations to consider versus some of the parks that we have listed here. I think those would serve the community better.
Any other comments?
I was going to
Counselor Kennedy.
Sorry, I was going to say, so I guess I wanted to make a motion to accept the 10 locations that Gina and the other department heads had given their thumbs up on, with the exception of the Fort Ontario Scenic Overlook Loop, and change that to the rail trail bridge. So a motion to place the signs again for the west side of Utica Street Bridge, east side of Utica Street Bridge, west side of Bridge Street Bridge, east side of Bridge Street Bridge, East Linear Park, West Linear Park near Veteran Stage, Lakeside Park, just east 10th and Half Street, Liberty Loop at Brayback Park, Sheldon Beach Park, and the Rail Trail Bridge walkway. So,
If I'm not mistaken, Kevin, the chair has to make the motion, correct? Yeah. Or can any counselor?
A motion would be properly made by a member of the committee, not necessarily the chair of the committee, but would require a motion and a second. There may be some concern that this was just on for discussion. My counter to that is that a deliberative body such as the Common Council, you can discuss all day long and then come up with a resolution. That's not necessarily an improper procedure, but the motion should be articulated and then seconded and then placed to a vote. And of course, this is committee, so it would go to the full Common Council if it were to be adopted by this committee.
Got a comment?
So just saying. So if Chance makes a motion, then can there be any more comments before we do a second, or do we have to have a second then comment?
I mean, you could have further discussion.
I want to have a little more conversation before we go in.
Yeah, I mean, you could have some additional conversation in the form of, if somebody is considering making a motion. Once a motion is made and then seconded, you can have further discussion before a vote is taken.
I'd like to make a comment.
Councilor Thompson. Thank you, Kevin.
Sure.
So I have concern there because I just listed alternate locations and concerns about some of these locations, and my fellow counselor just ignored that and tried to do a motion instead of have a discussion. So this is supposed to be for a discussion. So let's have the discussion on proposed locations and then go forward. Or if there's still more debate, because I think we should hear from the public a little bit more, maybe it should be tabled for another 2 weeks, try to get public input, and then put it back on the agenda. But I suggested some valid locations and it was ignored, and I don't think that's right. So that's what I have to say about that.
What I'd like to see is maybe get a subcommittee of 2 counselors and meet with the coalition and the police officer to come up with the best locations after we've got 10 locations, and then we have another 4 or 5 other locations, come up with the best locations before we put this, on a resolution, just to table it for tonight, table it for 2 weeks, and have a discussion amongst the professionals to find out exactly where the best out of the 15 locations that we have. Councilor Fitzgibbons.
My only concern with that is we have someone that's a professional, and we asked her the opinion of the professional that has got crisis intervention experience and the resources available through our police department, and we've asked for our first responders to give their opinions of what they might see as appropriate sites. And I think we're doing a disservice to the professionals that we have if we don't respect their opinions. If we then have to go outside and ask other well-intended people that don't have all the resources of our own employees and contracted staff. Again, I guess my question is, do we have any sites that we agree on? Do we have any site? Are there 5 that we could agree on?
Councilor Kennedy.
Well, 2 things. One, I believe I did make a motion, but I don't know if that's, true. Second thing is that, again, repeating, kind of parroting what John had said, Councilor Fitzgibbons has said, we have reached out to professionals, like Gina, thank you, and Chief Canzone, Chief Katie. They have given their approval, the GPW Commissioner Craig, they have given their okay authorization to say these are great places to put these locations. We've done this work. Delaying this, tabling this for another time, delays this important issue, which shouldn't really be an issue at all, point blank period. Like, I don't understand the issue of having a resource that gives people an opportunity to call somebody when they're at their lowest possible time in their life. To have somebody call and say, hey, I'm here, I want to help you, I want to get you through this tough time, and just talk. Sometimes people just don't have anybody to talk to, and they need somebody just to listen to them. And I've been there, a lot of people in this world have been there, a lot of people in this room have been there. And sometimes you just don't have a person that just doesn't, you can't talk to about sensitive issues. So you need a stranger. 988 is a great resource. I've heard about it for a while. That's why I brought it up in the Human Services Committee. That's why I'm such a strong advocate for this. I don't understand the hesitation, the back and forth about tabling this, putting it to another time, to another time. We have people like Gina, like our department heads who have given the approval. So if we can just like move forward with this with at least these signs, and if we need more, we can always ask for more at different locations at different times. But we have 10 signs. There was a discussion before at a previous meeting that there was going to be a proliferation of signs in our city. This is 10 signs. 10. Not 25, not 50, 10. 10 signs. And we can't find a place to put 10 signs in our city. I don't understand it. I don't realize why this is such an uphill battle to put 10 signs up for people who have committed terrible tragedies in our waterways because they couldn't handle it anymore because of bullying, because of whatever else issue that they were going through. The city has had 3 tragedies in the last year, and we need some kind of resource to help people not do this anymore, to save another family from going through the heartbreak that these families that have gone through this heartbreak in the last year have gone through. This shouldn't be an issue. It's not an issue, but we're making it an issue. And if Fulton can do it, I feel like we should be on the same path with Fulton to do this with other communities that offer resources, that offer education. So I would, again, make my motion again. If I need to do it again, I will. But I make a motion to put forward the 10 signs that our social worker from the police department, Gina, has suggested. Again, the resolution is to accept these placement of these 10 places. The west side of Utica Street Bridge, the east side of Utica Street Bridge, the west side of Bridge Street Bridge, the east side of Bridge Street Bridge, East Linear Park, West Linear Park near Veterans Stage, Lakeside Park, East 10th and Half Street, Liberty Loop, Brightback Park, Sheldon Beach Park, and the rail trail pedestrian walkway. That's my motion. Can I get a second?
Is there a second?
I will second.
Councilor Ashline.
I second.
Could- Sorry.
One of the things that concerns me is we have a large Spanish-speaking community. Is there anything that the council or the coalition could do? So maybe because we have a lot of, people in our community who can't read English. Is there anything we could do to maybe get a couple signs that in Spanish?
Councilor Ellensack.
Would it be possible to make the signs both-sided, and one in Spanish, one in English?
That would be a good idea.
One of the things I will say,
Councilor Fitzgibbons.
that services are available in English and Spanish and translation into over 240 languages of providers that will answer these calls. So pretty universal. It also has a deaf and TTY services as well that can interact with those seeking those services in that way. So there is a thoughtful, it's a sign, it's a small sign, it's one piece of a communication issue. It's not going to do it all. It's 18 inches by 18 inches. So I appreciate that it can't communicate every important aspect of this service. And I believe you're 100% correct to say this unto itself isn't the answer. This is not the answer. This is part of a broader conversation and a comprehensive conversation our community needs to have about how to address mental health, substance abuse, and suicide. And this is one resource. And I didn't get a chance to say, but I'm sorry for the loss of your family. Because
Thank you.
That's a lifetime of a loss, losing a sibling, and I know that. I know that personally, so I appreciate that pain doesn't go away. this is to help us to avoid that pain for someone else.
I understand that, but the thing is like, but we have people who, in our community, who cannot read English. So like Councilor Lautensack suggested, can you have it two-sided, or can our DPW make up a couple signs to put it in Spanish underneath?
Because these are coming through the Office of Mental Health, the New York State Office of Mental Health, they're compliant with the formats that they have. They have a fairly robust 988 Community Education and Awareness Toolkit.
Yes, I've read all that.
I shared it with you, but I
Yeah.
would tell you that we should take more pages from this and figure out how the translatable message can become more pervasive in the community for the non-English speaking populations. And I don't know whether I don't know whether it's going to be a multiple of signs or a multiple of communications or a multiple of community forums, because I think the fact that we're talking about this is positive. And this seems like work right now for us, but it's the right work we should be doing. This is what we should be spending our time talking about, how we bring resources to a vulnerable population in our community to avoid loss and pain that we can avoid for others. So I don't know whether we're going to answer the Spanish sign from the standpoint that we don't have the editorial ability to create these signs. They come out, they're all part of the national campaign, the statewide campaign, and the organizations that then fulfill for the 988 calls that become the local service providers and the mobile crisis providers are all part of this network. So, you know, it's not criticism or not observations that have fallen on. I think we all need to hear those, because they're important messages of there's more work we need to do. This isn't the answer, and we shouldn't stop at this.
Exactly, but my thing is, this,
Need to move
you know, I don't understand why you have to rush before you educate the public, before you get more feedback from the public. People, like I told you, if a sign went up where my cousin took his own life, I could never visit there again, because it's hard enough as it is.
Yep.
You know, somebody on social media a couple of years ago, you know, my daughter's like, Mom, on this Oswego page on Facebook, they're writing about somebody got drunk and drove their wheelchair into the river. Wasn't that your cousin? I see, but he wasn't drunk. He was depressed. He was deaf. He came back from Vietnam deaf, paralyzed from the waist down, and could get no help. I learned sign language to communicate with him, because he learned sign language. They put him in a hospital in France. And that's how I communicated with him. And the deaf population, and research will back this, scholarly research, the deaf community has more suicides than any other population. But I mean, I just think that you're on this speeding train to hurry up and get things done. How many people in the public have seen this sign? How many people in the public, have you talked? You've got to reach out to, you know, I mean, this coalition does wonderful things. And you need, the city needs to partner with them to educate the public and have a community meeting and invite the community, or Councilor Meyer at his town hall meeting, and partner and educate, because you need to communicate. And you know, if you want to throw signs up tomorrow, it's not going to do any good, because did you know about what 988 was?
No.
Did you?
I did.
Yes.
Chair.
Because it
That's
seems
our
like
job.
everything you do, you're rushing. You rush and you rush. You don't consider how the public feels. Have you talked to people who have had loved ones who committed suicide, and how they will feel about it? Or, you know, trigger words, emotional triggers. And I don't understand either. These signs aren't uniform. I don't know, because I've seen some that are white with black background, so they're not nationally.
I didn't design.
I don't know, but I've seen some other ones, and the white backgrounds look nice because they show. But I don't want to forget our non-English speaking community. I think it's really important, and I really hope that someone will consider Counselor Lautensack. I mean, you work for a school, right? So you know that we have students that can't speak a word of English or read English. And so we want to hit these vulnerable populations, and that's all I've got to say, because you need to learn to listen.
Okay, at present, there is a motion on the floor to use the 10 sites that Councilor Kennedy has recommended
I just
and
have-
was recommended by
Councilor Meyer?
Councilor
Have
Plunkett.
Something else to say? So
Sure.
basically, the 10 sites are near the waterways.
Yes.
Obviously, that makes sense. But I also think Counselor Thompson has some good ideas also about, I was thinking the same spots, you know, police, fire, whatever. So-
Absolutely.
So in the future, if we need more signs, or we can always add more.
Councilor Kennedy.
So my understanding is that the 10 signs, when we asked, were the ones that was the maximum allotment that we could get for free at no cost to the city. Additional would cost probably very minimal, but would cost something to the city. So we can always get more signs, whether it's 5, another 10, whatever. We can always get more signs, but 10, to my understanding, and I could be incorrect, but 10 was the max that we would get at like 0 cost to the city. So that is certainly something that we can do at a later time to explore possibilities, like at the Walmart, at the hospital, at police station, fire station, both police stations or fire stations. But that would be a good 5 spots right there. So we can certainly do that, and that's not like off the table at all at any time. I want to make that clear. But these 10 signs were specifically chosen by Gina, thank you, because of the impact to the community, the waterways, etc. So, but thank you.
To be honest, I was, vaguely knew about 988. I've been trying to educate myself on it the last few weeks or months since you brought that up, Councilor Kennedy, with the signs and with Gina and Chief Canzone and Chief Katie. That's not something I take lightly.
Anyone else? Comments? There is a...
There's a motion.
I will say about like the other locations, right? The fire department, police department, any sort of business. As I thought I heard someone mention earlier the police officer, so I just want to clarify. I am not a police officer. I'm the mental health clinician as my day job in the police department. And so my job is a licensed mental health professional. I'm here today speaking just as a member of a community, but with this background and experience. As a mental health provider, I have actually been able to receive material from the Office of Mental Hygiene, who provides these signs, who makes these 988 signs. And in my office right now, I have posters, huge posters. I have stickers, I have magnets, I have the things that you stick on your fridge. I have little safety plans that I can use out in the field. And so I have access to these things and materials that are in my office at this time that we can certainly have conversations with the fire chief or Chief Katie about putting those up inside the departments. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sign, a reflective sign. If people are coming into the lobby, we don't need this sort of hard reflective sign inside the lobby. And so that's why I had suggested the locations for these signs in particular, because they are intended to be outside and they are made with that reflective material, so that I believe those are the ones that they did in Fulton, so that you can see them at nighttime. I think they had other signs that weren't reflective, but these were the ones that Fulton went with, and we also liked the idea of them being visible at all times of the day. I also want to, I guess, encourage everybody to think about placing these signs doesn't mean we're done having conversations and educating, and could both of these things exist at the same time? Can we place these signs and continue to have these conversations and educate the public? Just this past week, I was out to BOCES because my daughter went to a really awesome camp out there, and the Oswego Suicide Prevention Coalition was there, and they were tabling at that event, and I was kind of shocked when I saw Lisa there because I really didn't know what to expect. They're having an event coming up in August in Fulton, a huge sidewalk event, and so they are out there and providing the education, and should that happen on a bigger level, like in our businesses, at the Common Council meetings, in City Hall, maybe it's already happening, but I think that both of these things can exist, and I would encourage you all to sort of consider that the signs aren't the finished product. The signs are intended to be there as a visual reminder for someone who is in a moment where it is so overwhelming and stressful, and they're so defeated that thinking isn't actually the easiest thing to do. Thinking, I better call my mom, or I better use my breathing skills, or other things. Thinking can be very difficult in those times, and that's why we have these visual reminders of 988, especially because it is so new. We've all been taught to call 911 if you need help. Since forever, call 911 if you need help. And this national push to have people reach out to 988 if they are not in immediate danger is still new, but we can still provide that education at the same time that these signs are up. So I think that's all I wanted to speak about that. But also the different locations. I would love the option of having these signs up in different businesses, out to Walmart or what have you. But we can also do that. That's not like a hard reflective sign, you know. And I'm happy to have conversations or give whomever these posters or take a look at them, because I have tons more than I've been able to put up. So.
Gina, one question I have is, do we have to get these signs from like the National Suicide? Our DPW has the ability to make signs. Could we make some of our own signs if we needed more? If we wanted to put them, say, like at the police station inside, where they didn't have to be anything special, reflective material? Is that a possibility? Or
I don't know if I have the ability to say yes if there's copyright issues, but these signs are being donated, so it's at no cost to anybody. But if you wanted additional, I don't know if I can give you that answer.
Okay, maybe that's something we could look into and see maybe if that's a possibility or get something.
Right, like Councilor Lautensack said, you know, the Spanish-speaking community.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do
Councilor
believe they may, I'm sorry.
Councilor Lautensack.
The files are available online to
Perfect.
download
Oh,
to
yeah.
print, so it's like
Okay.
an easy
I mean,
5-minute
that's a
issue.
possibility, you know,
Yeah.
if we wanted
Yeah.
signs maybe made up in Spanish or to put in the police department or the fire department, that's a possibility at very little expense to us, so.
I do believe I saw, and I will circle back to that and look and update you guys. I thought last time I was on the website that I did see that there were options for all this material, and I may have some in Spanish or other languages, and so I can check too to see if these signs in particular are available. I can't imagine why they would not be, especially if this is a national organization and push, but I can follow up with you on that.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any more comments, questions?
So
Councilor
what's the
Plunkett.
time frame on the signage, if the placement, if it passes committee tonight and then full council next week?
It's got to go to full council, then the signs
Then
can
they're
go up
going right up?
anytime. It'd be up to the DPW, I think, when they have the opportunity to put them up.
So a couple weeks minimum, probably.
Probably, yeah, I would think. You know, with Harbor Fest this week, they got things to do, so after that gets over, I would say probably maybe first, second week in August, possibly. We'd have to talk to Craig about it. And see.
2-3 weeks.
Yeah,
Got a little bit of time to educate some people and to iron out some
yeah.
loose ends.
And I will definitely try to get a hold of the coalition or something, and
Yeah.
in my October monthly meeting that I have at Elam Grace, they could maybe come down and Hopefully we can get some people to turn out to that. I'll talk to you later if I could, please. Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor. We have a second. I'd like a roll call, please, on the vote.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Ashline?
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy?
Yes.
Okay, with no further business, I would like a motion to adjourn, please. Counselor Kennedy, Counselor Ashline.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Ashline?
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy?
Yes.